Get your ears wrapped around the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast. All the scoop you need to know, from college basketball to the NBA and even March Madness. News of your rising stars, topics on and off the hardwood. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, you read the title, GSMC Basketball Podcast, episode 162. NBA playoffs are here, and boy oh boy are they. Alright, it's Friday, April 13th, Friday the 13th. Not sure if you're superstitious, really. I mean, I kind of am. I kind of not. I don't know. All right. Friday the 13th. Not really something that scares me. And watch, I know something bad's going to happen. Maybe I'll drop my laptop and break it or something like that. That happens, then I'm sorry, Friday the 13th. You're real. But nonetheless, it's Friday the 13th. April 13th. All right. And here we are. We got playoff games coming up this weekend. Saturday and Sunday, and pretty much every day after that, I kind of feel like. So it's going to be fun. Obviously, with playoff games going on this weekend, you know what the show is going to be about. It's going to be about the playoffs, all right? No more regular season games to talk about. No more games to recap or anything like that. Now, just pure analysis. And, of course, we'll recap games that are played the day before or maybe a couple days before if we need to for the show, all right? But nonetheless, here we are. We don't have any games to talk about right now because of the fact that season ended on Wednesday. We did end up having the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets. That was a fun game to watch right there. Timberwolves ended up winning that one in overtime. Nikola Jokic got shut down by Taj Gibson crunch time. I mean, dude had no chance. Jamal Murray was a beast, though, for Denver, scoring a lot of clutch time points, and it was just, the Timberwolves were just too much for the Nuggets there. All right, Nuggets were down by like 9, I think with like 4 minutes left, ended up coming back, but just simply wasn't enough. So, hats off to the Nuggets. They'll probably be in the playoffs next year. They're a good team. But nonetheless, here we are. We got the Rockets versus the Timberwolves as the 1-8 matchup in the West. We got as the 2-7 matchup. We got the Warriors versus the Spurs. 3-6 is Portland versus New Orleans, and then 4-5 is Oklahoma City versus Utah. The 1-8 matchup in the East is Toronto versus Washington. The 2-7 matchup is Boston versus Milwaukee. 3-6 is Philly versus Miami, and then the 4-5 is Cleveland versus Indiana. All right, so few good matchups. And this is how the show's going to go, okay? First up, first segment, we're going to be previewing each matchup. We're going to be talking 1-8 seed for both conferences in the first segment. Second segment, we're going to be talking about the 2 versus 7 seed matchups. All right, Celtics versus Bucks, like I said, and Warriors versus Spurs. Third segment, we're going to be talking about the 3-6 matchups. And then for the last segment of the show, we'll be talking 4-5 matchups. So that's how it's going to go. It's going to be a very playoff-heavy show, as you know. And then for the fourth segment, too, we'll sprinkle in some stuff going on as far as anything else going on in the world of basketball. Charlotte fired their head coach, and then New York fired Jeff Hornacek. So we'll be talking about that. But nonetheless, here we are. Let's get into it. All right, so let's talk Houston, Minnesota first, okay? This matchup is very intriguing to me because of the fact that you do got the possible MVP winner in James Harden. I say possible because it looks like the media is really chugging along to this LeBron James should be MVP talk. All right, I feel like that's been the talk so far, at least the last couple of weeks. Maybe that sways the voters' minds. Who knows? But nonetheless, I think that it's time James Harden wins it. If James Harden doesn't win it this year, then he'll never win it ever because of the fact that he's not supposed to, I guess. All right, but it's just very odd, the fact that this guy just cannot get an MVP award. So we'll see if he does this year. But nonetheless, like I said, could be the possible MVP this year. You got Chris Paul on that team. Clint Capella could win Most Improved Player. You get Gerald Green off the bench and Eric Gordon, who could win Sixth Man of the Year. All right, so we got that. And then in Minnesota, you got Jimmy Butler, Karl-Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Tom Thibodeau as the coach. And then off the bench, I mean, you got Derrick Rose, Tyus Jones, Jamal Crawford. Okay? series is intriguing to me because of the fact that I do think that Houston is going to win the series, but I'm not sure in how many games. Okay? They're going to win it in 6 games? They're going to win it in 5? They're going to sweep? Or they're going to win it in 7? I have no clue. All right? I'm not really sure which Minnesota team is going to show up. If the Minnesota team that we all thought was that they were going to be in the beginning of the season shows up, Minnesota could win this series. All right? I would not put that past them at all. But it's just a matter of, I feel Minnesota has struggled against the top teams in the league this season. I think their top 6 record is atrocious. Last time I checked. All right, so now it's just a matter of how well they're going to play. Like, is Jimmy Butler, what's he going to do? We can count on Jimmy Butler showing up. I'm not too worried about that. It's a matter of if Andrew Wiggins can find his role on this team for the playoffs and be efficient, and how aggressive will Karl Anthony Towns be, okay? Because Clint Capella can't cover. He can't match up with Karl Anthony Towns. That's no doubt. Okay. Jimmy Butler's probably going to be going up against James Harden. That's going to be a nice little matchup there. Going to be interesting to see how. Harden does against a guy like Jimmy Butler who plays great defense in the league. We got Wiggins versus. I wonder who Wiggins is going to be matching up with. I think they'll have him on Ariza. I think PJ Tucker. He's been starting too. I think you do have him on Ariza. You have Jeff Teague with, so you probably have him on Ariza. Jeff Teague will be against Chris Paul. So it's going to be interesting to see. All right. And one thing with the Rockets is that Chris Paul and James Harden aren't the biggest playoff players. Okay. Last 2 elimination games from James Harden, and the dude just has not shown up. Like he plays terrible. All right. Terrible. I still have no idea as to what happened with him last year. All right, no idea whatsoever. The guy I have no clue. I have no words for it. Not sure really why he played as bad as he did, but he did. All right. And as for Chris Paul's never been able to get out the second round. I think he's got Carmelo Anthony syndrome. Carmelo Anthony's never got outside the got out the second round either, right? But nonetheless, I mean, you got to pick the Rockets as the favorites to win this series, don't you? Yeah, you do. I think the Rockets are going to be able to pull it off, but like I said, the Timberwolves are going to give them a run for their money, and I'm very surprised to see that the Rockets are favored by 11.5 in Game 1. I would take the Timberwolves in that one if I was a betting man. Timberwolves plus 11.5. There's no way that the Rockets are beating them by double digits. No way whatsoever. So that series is going to be very interesting, but like I said, I do have the Rockets winning that series. All right. Then we got Toronto versus Washington. All right. Toronto has been the best team in the East this season, and it really hasn't been close, okay? It hasn't. Bench has been playing well. Starting 5 has been playing well. Dwayne Casey is a great coach. Fans show up week in and week out. They got Drake out there cheering them on. Everything's going good in Toronto land. All right? But there's always a but with Toronto. It's playoff time. Okay? We know what that means. Toronto usually shrinks when it's playoff time. All right? I compare it to, like, with Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry, when the playoffs are here, dude turns into a G League player. All right? Remember how it's like LeVar Ball, ESPN, how they were hyping up Lonzo Ball and all that, and like Lonzo Ball is pretty much must-watch TV for the first few weeks of the season? That's how Kyle Lowry is. Except he's must-watch because you're looking to see if he's going to struggle in the playoffs. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this Raptors-Wizards series. All right? I want to see how well if Kyle Lowry plays well. All right? You can count on DeMar DeRozan. Valanciunas will play well, and I'm sure the bench will do their thing. But this team will not do anything if Kyle Lowry just shrivels up and doesn't do anything in the playoffs. All right? This is a tough matchup here. If you're a top team in the East, you do not want to play the Wizards. And the poor old Raptors are the ones who have that opportunity to. All right? So it's going to be very interesting to see how this story plays out. The Raptors are I would not be surprised at all if they ended up getting upset in this series. Wouldn't be surprised one bit. Okay? There's the thing with the Wizards. I mean, last year they were a game away from playing in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, if not for Kelly Olynyk having the game of his life, they probably end up making it in. All right, John Wall was playing well, but now it's just a matter of, it's this year now. It's a different year. All right. The Wizards have not looked good with John Wall playing. All right. When he went out and Tomas Satoransky took over, the Wizards were playing very good basketball, very good team basketball. We're winning ball games. John Wall comes back, and they pretty much went to being the same old Wizards team. And I'm not really sure if it's just a matter of John Wall didn't like playing with them, they don't like playing with John Wall, or it's just the fit. They don't fit together. All right? We all know when John Wall is out there playing well, he's a top 5 point guard. Kyrie, Steph, Westbrook, John Wall's in there. Yeah, top 5. All right. They finished 3-7 in their last 10 to close out the season. I mean, it's a matter of, I guess, how well they play as a unit. They're able to play good team basketball, and then the bench guys come off and play well. They can easily knock off the Raptors. All right. Would not be surprised by it one bit. If anything, I might pick the Wizards to knock off the Raptors. All right? Because of the fact that I trust the Wizards to play well as a team in the playoffs more so than I trust Kyle Lowry to show up. So you're probably thinking, yeah, you're picking the Wizards, and you know what? You're wrong. I'm picking the Raptors in this series. I got to go with Toronto in the series, all right? I can't go with the Wizards. I got to go with Toronto. I think that overall, all around as a team, they're better than probably the best they've been in years. I think they're better than last year's team. And I think that Kyle Lowry, I'm not sure really how well he's going to play, but I do think that just given how poorly the Wizards are playing with John Wall back, I think the Raptors are going to be able to get out of this series. All right? And that's just a matter of they can get out of this series, but you're probably going to be playing Cleveland in the next, and that's just a whole different story there. So I do got the Raptors winning this series, even if Kyle Lowry just kind of struggles. I think DeMar DeRozan is going to play extremely well. Valanciunas has usually been a really good playoff player, and like I said, the bench has been playing well this season. Plus, like I said, you have the Wizards who really haven't played well together as a cohesive unit. So I got the Raptors winning that series, and I got the Rockets winning their series. So I got both number 1 seeds winning. It's going to be very interesting to see, though. I think let's say, I'll call it right now. Rockets in, I want to say 6, but I kind of want to say 7. I'll go Rockets in 7, Raptors in 7 also. All right. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Actually, I know I can't pick both of them going to 7 games because that's highly unlikely. I'm going to stick to it. I want to go Rockets in 6, but I think that the Timberwolves are going to show up and play well. So I'll go Rockets in 7 and then Raptors in 7, all right? So that's going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about the 2 and 7 seed matchups. We got Boston versus Milwaukee and Golden State versus San Antonio. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. As I've said, all right, we're going to be doing the show, going over each playoff series as far as the seeding goes. First segment, we did the 1 versus 8 seeds. This segment, we're going to be doing 2 versus 7, and then so on, so on. All right, for the first segment, I picked the Rockets to knock off the Timberwolves in their series. I think it's going to go 7 games. And then I picked the Raptors to knock off the Wizards, and I think that's going to go 7 games too. Obviously, I think I'm going to be wrong as far as how many games it goes, but that's just my feeling. All right, so who knows there? But either way, for this segment, we're going to be talking about the 2 versus 7 seeds. Those matchups: Celtics versus Bucks, Warriors versus Spurs. All right, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the Warriors and Spurs matchup first. All right. Spurs and Warriors, if you hadn't watched the season at all, but you know which roster, who had who, you'd be pretty excited about this series. You'd think, oh yeah, we get Kawhi Leonard versus the Warriors, Steph Curry, all that. No. All right. They're getting KD, Clay, Draymond versus LaMarcus Aldridge and Patty Mills. Doesn't really sound that fun, does it? Not one bit. But nonetheless, here we are. All right. And this is a series that could sneak up on the Warriors here if they're not careful. Okay? The Warriors are a very good team. The Warriors right now without Steph Curry are not a great team. All right? The Warriors, I feel, struggle without Stephen Curry. And I feel like they're just not what we usually would expect them to be. All right? Steph Curry is just someone who, he's like that alpha, okay? You know what he's going to do, and you know pretty much where his spot on the team is. All right? But nonetheless, here we are. All right? Let's say that Kawhi Leonard comes back for this series. Who would be the favorite? Okay? Who would you have as the favorite? Would it still be the Warriors without Stephen Curry? Because he's not playing in this series for sure. All right. Or would you go and pick the Spurs? You got to imagine you'd probably go with the Spurs, right? All right. But nonetheless, he's probably not going to be playing. And I'm not sure if Kawhi Leonard is going to be with the Spurs ever again, which is kind of crazy to say because of the fact that, I figured that they were a perfect fit for each other. All right, Kawhi Leonard doesn't speak. He just goes, plays basketball. Those are the kind of guys that Greg Popovich wants. All right, reminds me of Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan never spoke, really. He said words, but no real emotion or anything like that. All right. But nonetheless, I have no clue where Kawhi could end up. Maybe in LA. Nice little marketing thing for him there. Maybe Boston. They still got plenty of assets to give up. Who knows? But either way, we're not going to worry about Kawhi because we're not sure if he's ever coming back. All right. Do we think that this Spurs team can knock off this Warriors team, given how they are? Spurs still got some pretty solid players. All right, LaMarcus Aldridge has been playing real well this season. Okay, really stepped up. I think, last year he wanted to be traded. This year, nope, don't trade me. All right. It's just, you need the guys like the Patty Mills to step up. You need the Dejounte Murrays to step up. You need the playoff experience of a Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker here. Okay? But it's just a matter of the Spurs don't win on the road. Let me check their home and away record this season, and it's going to be a very big difference, let me tell you. I think they were 30-something and 8 this season at home or something like that. Let me see. At home, the Spurs were 33 and 8. Out on the road, they were 14 and 27. So obviously, if the Spurs were to win every home game in this series, they'd lose 4-3. All right. But it's just with the Warriors right now, I feel like something is off with that team. Okay. I just feel like it's like something is off. They haven't looked good. Kind of look disinterested. They don't play well without Steph Curry. Steve Kerr, I'm not even sure if he's getting to the guys and getting to the players anymore. It's just a matter of maybe they're bored or something. Something is off with the Warriors, though. And it started to push me over to Houston and just having to pick them for the West. All right? This team really needs Steph Curry. They need that leader. All right? And that's one thing. He could still be around the team and all that when he's hurt, but they need him on the court. There's a big difference from him being out there in the locker room to him being out there on the court. All right? And it's just for some reason this team just they're not exciting right now. You figure a team with Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green would still be a great team. Would still be the favorites, clear-cut favorites to win their series. But nonetheless, here we are. All right? I'm not sure really what it is about KD, but the dude is just not a leader. All right? That's why Russell Westbrook was taking all the shots when he was with Oklahoma City Thunder, because a guy like Westbrook's going to say, no, I want this shot. KD's never going to command for everything. He's kind of soft, to be honest. All right? But nonetheless, here here we are. They're still the second seed. Like I said, I mean, they got blown out by the Jazz in the last couple of regular season games. I think it was the second to last game. They just haven't looked good at all. And I do think that they're going to end up winning this series, but it's just a matter of the odd chance that Kawhi Leonard does come back. I don't really trust the Warriors there. All right? Let's say Kawhi comes back and he doesn't really miss a beat. The Warriors would be in huge trouble. That's worst case scenario right there. Kawhi Leonard comes back. I'm not sure the Warriors get out of this series. All right? And it's just kind of weird. Like, Kawhi's been dealing with his injury all year. And, I mean, it's a quad injury, but I feel like if you could play through it, you play through it. All right? Unless it's keeping you from walking or running, or it's just extreme discomfort to where you know it's going to affect your game to the point where you're just not producing at all, then yeah, don't play. And again, I don't know how bad the injury is, but it's just a matter of, we've seen guys play with worse, haven't we? I mean, Isaiah Thomas played through a hip injury and was pretty much out all year this season. All right? And maybe that's a little caution there. I mean, Kawhi Leonard plays through his quad injury. Maybe he's hurt all next season, but I don't know. It seems like remember Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out that the Spurs had a team meeting, a players only meeting, trying to get Kawhi Leonard to come back. You don't have that meeting if you know that he's really hurt and he can't come back. You only have it if you think that, yeah, you can come back. You should be out here. All right, so I'm not really sure what's going on with Kawhi Leonard here, but if he could play, then he needs to be out there. All right, he definitely does. Anyways, we'll see about it. I mean, as far as the series goes, I'll pick Golden State. I'd pick them in 6 games here. But it's just a matter of, I don't know, I just can't trust them. For some reason, I got this feeling that they might lose or they're going to lose in the playoffs before they get to the finals. Because they get to the finals, they'll win it. It doesn't matter if they're playing Philly, Cleveland, or Boston, or whoever. All right, they'll win. That's no doubt. If anything, it's just tougher to get through the West than it will be to get through the finals. So we'll see. But either way, like I said, I'm going to make my pick. I got the Warriors over the Spurs. I got the Warriors winning in 6. So there it is right there. Boom. So we'll see about it. But nonetheless, there's that. Let's head over to the East. We got Boston versus Milwaukee. We got the injured Boston Celtics versus the Milwaukee Bucks, who, I mean, really haven't had a great coach since, I couldn't tell you, to be honest. All right. And, I mean, this is the series where you'd probably expect the Bucks to maybe pull it out, but I see Boston winning this one. All right. And I see Boston doing it in 6 games, honestly. I think Brad Stevens is going to have the perfect game plan drawn up for this team. And Terry Rose, there's a lot of things that got to go right for Boston, and it's just a matter of, I just think that they're better than Milwaukee right now without Kyrie Irving or even Gordon Hayward or whoever. Terry Rozier's played extremely well this season, okay, in his role as the starting point guard with Kyrie out and even coming off the bench. Jason Tatum is playing like he's going to be a future superstar. And that's one thing, too. It's big that Jason Tatum has played as well as he has this season because Boston has a guy that can go out and create his own shot. Okay? Boston didn't have that last season besides Isaiah Thomas. This year they had it with at least Kyrie and Jason Tatum. That's one thing you need in the playoffs, a guy that can go out and get his own shot. A guy who could drive in, a guy who could pretty much pull up, and a guy who could hit the 3. Jason Tatum plays well in all 3 phases of the offensive game. All right? And I'm very curious to see what Jaylen Brown does here. For me, that's the Celtics X factor. Okay? Well, Jaylen Brown had a very nice postseason last year, and I feel like he's got to be the guy who steps up and becomes the leader here. All right? He was there with that team that went to the Eastern Conference Finals. He knows what it takes. Okay? We've seen Jaylen Brown play well this season, but it's just a matter of, is he going to be able to put it all together for the playoffs? All right, Jaylen Brown's got to go out and pretty much dominate here. He needs to take the ball and pretty much show that, yeah, you know what, we got this. Don't even worry about it. All right, I'm sure Terry Rozier and Jason Tatum are going to show up and play well. But if Jaylen Brown comes up and plays extremely well and pretty much is the same guy he was in the playoffs, but maybe a little bit better, then I don't have any really reason to think Boston won't win this series. Okay, with the Bucks, I mean, they finished the 7th seed this year. Everyone expected them to do better. Everyone expected Giannis to be probably a possible MVP winner, but it's just the Bucks. I mean, 44-38, not really great there. All right, we're not great in their own division. We're 6-4 in their last 10. The Bucks just don't move the needle for me here. All right, I think Giannis is going to play well. Curious to see how Eric Bledsoe does along with Chris Middleton and Jabari Parker, but I just think that top to bottom, Boston's going to be able to get it done. So I got Boston winning the series. I got Boston in 6. All right. As far as what Boston does in the second round, that's a whole different story. We'll get there when we get there. But nonetheless, I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see how the Celtics do this postseason, what Milwaukee's going to be able to do against Boston. I mean, as far as Game 1 goes, I think Boston's going to take it. And as far as Game 1 goes in the West for the Warriors and Spurs, I got the Warriors winning that one. All right, but nonetheless, these are probably two of the more intriguing series of the playoffs because of the fact that the Warriors just don't look good without Steph, and the Celtics are pretty much without their top players. So we'll see what goes on here. But nonetheless, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking the 3 versus 6 seed games. So stay tuned for that, and we will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC basketball podcast. So far today, we've talked about the 1-8 playoff matchups and the 2 versus 7 matchups. I got the Rockets knocking off the Timberwolves in 7 games. I got the Raptors knocking off the Wizards in 7 games, and then in the 2 versus 7 seed matchups, I got the Celtics knocking off the Bucks in 6, and the Warriors knocking off the Spurs in 6 also. But that is subject to change if Kawhi Leonard decides that his quad is okay and he's ready to come back. All right, but nonetheless, that's what's going on so far in today's show. And as you know, if you've been paying attention, this segment, we're going to be doing the 3 versus 6 seed matchups. Couple of good ones. I think the Pelicans and Trailblazers one is going to be the NBA TV series, meaning the one where, they get really no national TV games because of the fact that, they're in the 2 smallest markets, I feel. People are going to want to watch the Celtics because they play in Boston. People are going to want to watch the Warriors because they won the title last year. And then you got the Spurs. Rockets got the MVP winner. Timberwolves are playing them. And then you got the Raptors who are the 1 seed. All right. Sorry, New Orleans. Sorry, Portland, but it is what it is. Enjoy it. When's the last time? Portland's been in the playoffs year after year, but when's the last time New Orleans was in the playoffs? All right. I think that was the year where they played was it the first year the Warriors won the title? Because then Anthony Davis... Didn't he hit like a game winner in that series or something like that? I don't know. But either way, that's what's going on. And then we got Philly versus Miami. That's a series that you might hear me say some surprising things. But you're going to have to wait on that. Let's start off with the Portland and New Orleans series, all right? So with Portland, as I always say, they're the team that reminds me of the Atlanta Hawks. All right, the team with Jeff Teague, Horford, Millsap, make the playoffs year after year, but don't do much. All right, that's all you are. You're just a playoff team. You're not going to go out and win a title or anything like that. You're just going to be happy making it to the playoffs and getting bounced in the first, maybe the second round if you get lucky. That, I feel, has been the Trailblazers. All right. Team who, is respected in the West, but they're not going to compete with the Warriors, the Spurs, or any of those top teams the last few years. All right, it's just not going to happen. And now, they're the 3 seed. All right, they played on Wednesday against the Jazz. That battle was for the 3 seed, and Portland pretty much was a wire-to-wire win there. All right, it was almost a blowout, but for some reason, Utah ended up coming not even back. They were just down by 9 by the time the game ended. But other than that, I mean, they really had no shot whatsoever at winning that game. Portland just never took their foot off the gas pedal and played well the entire time. All right, and as for New Orleans, I mean, they were going through the season with DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. DeMarcus Cousins tore his Achilles, and then after that, I mean, I wrote him off. I figured there's no way they're making the playoffs now. All right, Anthony Davis is good, but I just don't think the team around him is good enough to make the playoffs. And sure enough, they make the playoffs. Anthony Davis goes on a crazy run where he hasn't met the 3 seed for a week. Let's say for like a week because of the fact that, I mean, the West standings just one team loses, one team wins, and everything just turns into chaos. It was ridiculous how it was like seeing the 4 seed go to the 8 seed in one night. I mean, how often can you say you see that? You don't. But nonetheless, I mean, Rondo stepped up, Etuan Moore stepped up, Drew Holiday stepped up. Even Emeka Okafor got some starts and played well. All right, then they get Mirotic at the deadline. That was kind of like a move I thought, you know what, we might as well pretend like we're going for it and just trade for a guy like that. Still don't think they were making the playoffs at the time. And Mirotic played well, here he is. And you got a guy like Ian Clark off the bench who's been very consistent. All right, Ian Clark is not going to get one single 6 man of the year vote. But nonetheless, Ian Clark, if you're listening to this, I have been paying attention. You have been playing well. All right. And I'm sure Pelicans fans, if there's any out there listening to this, are going to be very happy about that because the fact that Ian Clark has been playing very well for the Pelicans. Been a very consistent, about 10 a game type scorer for the Pelicans, I feel. All right. And as for Mirotic, he's starting to move into the starting 5 a bit more now, and he's been playing well too alongside Anthony Davis. So now it's Rondo versus Lillard, Holiday versus McCollum, Moore versus, I think, Aminu. And then you got Davis versus Nurkic, and then I can't remember who plays the 4. I think Mo Harkless. I think Aminu plays the 4, Mo Harkless plays the 3, but nonetheless, those guys will be matching up with Mirotic, either one. All right. I mean, this is a tough little series here. Damian Lillard's been playing out of his mind this season, probably going to be a first team All-NBA guard, I should say. All right. At one point, he did insert himself into the MVP conversation. I mean, just the conversation, there was no real chance of him winning it, but his name was mentioned. And this is probably the best season he's had as far as not just production, but just all around, being a leader, getting his team this far, having him play this well. All right. And that's one thing, too. The Portland Trailblazers, I think I remember, didn't Damian Lillard have a meeting with like the front office pretty much deciding, like trying to see what direction they were going in? Because I'm sure the guy got tired of just continually making the playoffs and getting bounced year after year. There was no real direction, like no real progress being made. They were just stuck. But nonetheless, progress was made this season. All right. It was made this season. Team finishing as the 3 seed, playing well, playing like they are the 3rd best team in the U.S. too. All right, because the 4 through 8 seeds in the West, I mean, you can go out and say that they're all pretty even and no one is really better than anyone there. And you can make that argument, and I'm sure most are going to agree with you. But as far as the Trailblazers, I'd take them over any of those 4 through 8 teams. I'll take them over the Thunder. I'll take them over the Jazz. I'll take them over the Pelicans. I'll take them over the Spurs. And I'd take them over the Timberwolves. All right? So here we are. But nonetheless, I mean, I'm very curious to see what Anthony Davis does in his second playoff appearance. All right? How well is he going to play? Is he going to step up? Who knows? I'm not really too much as far as what the Pelicans need to do as far as getting out of the first round, which I think they could do, is they need Rondo to play how he did with the Bulls last postseason. Okay? Rondo single-handedly had the Celtics down 2-0. It wasn't Jimmy Butler. It wasn't Dwayne Wade. Rondo had Celtics fans terrified. Okay, if Rondo doesn't get hurt, the Bulls probably make it out of that series. Rondo was on another level. It was almost like, I feel like he was coaching the Bulls last season in that playoff series. All right? I feel like Fred Hoiberg didn't have really too much to do with the fact that they were up 2-0, and it was more so Rondo. All right? And that's what the Pelicans need here. They need that Rondo to show up. Rondo knows what it takes to go out and win a series, knows what it takes to go out and win a championship. Okay? Those years with him on that Boston team were very valuable to him later on in his career. Because of the fact that we're seeing things like this. Rondo during the regular season might not be the best, But nonetheless, when the postseason comes, he's a completely different player. He's like the old Rondo that used to play with the Celtics. All right? He knows how things work, knows what you need to do in order to get past. If he's playing like that, then I'm worried for the Trailblazers. Because of the fact that you're going to have Anthony Davis playing well. All right? You got Mirotic, who can shoot the ball. Drew Holiday, who's looked extremely good this season. No one's really talked about him much at all. And Etuan Moore, who's played extremely well. All right? The Pelicans are a very good, consistent team. The Trailblazers are a good, most of the time, consistent team. And I'm kind of talking myself into picking the Pelicans here, aren't I? I think I am. All right? I'm very curious to see what happens here, but I think I do got to go with the Pelicans here. All right, I know Portland. I'm sure Portland's going to get game 1 just because of the home court advantage, but I just think that Rondo's going to be on a whole nother level here. And it's just, I don't think I could trust outside of McCollum, Lillard, and Nurkic, any of those other guys to really show up and be consistent. All right, I feel more comfortable counting on Etuan Moore and Drew Holiday rather than I do with like an Al-Farouq Aminu or Evan Turner type. All right, I really do. So you know what? I'm going to go with the Pelicans in this one. I think they're going to be able to pull it out. I'll go Pelicans in 6 games. No, Pelicans in 7. I'm going to go Pelicans in 7, yeah. I'll have the Pelicans winning in 7 games, okay? No, do I trust them to win? I'm going to go Pelicans in 6. I don't trust the Pelicans to win game 7 in Portland. So yeah, I got Pelicans winning there. That's an upset, my first upset pick of my predictions. Now let's head over to the East. We got the 16 win in a row Philadelphia 76ers facing off with the Miami Heat. All right, Philly went from winning, 28 games last season to 53 this season, I think it was. 51, something like that. Playing well. Process is looking good here. Joel Embiid's going to be out for game 1. I think Miami's going to take game 1, but nonetheless, I mean, Philly has been playing well without Embiid. Simmons has been stepping up. All right, the matchup I'm looking forward to right here in the series is not between the players. It's Eric Spoelstra versus Brett Brown. All right. Spoelstra is by far the better coach. By far. All right. Brett Brown has done well, but it's just Spoelstra's on another level. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Heat did take 2 out of 3 against the Sixers this season. Okay. Of course, with Philly, you got Saric, you got Covington, Simmons, Redick, Embiid when he comes back, and Fultz has been playing well. Plus, you got all the momentum of the streak you've been on. Eventually, that streak's going to come to an end this playoff series. But nonetheless, they got a really solid team. The Heat, they got not great players, but solid players, guys who do a job well. James Johnson, Josh Richardson, Hassan Whiteside, Dragic, Tyler Johnson, Wayne Ellington, Kelly Olynyk. Then you got that Dwayne Wade guy too. I completely forgot Dwayne Wade was on the Heat. Very intrigued to see what he does this postseason against the Sixers. Sixers really have no real playoff experience on that team, besides J.J. Redick, who has gone bounced in the second round a handful of times. Bellinelli was with the Spurs when they made a little run. Amir Johnson was with the Celtics last year, but not really sure how much of a factor he's going to be. You know what? I'm picking the Heat to win this series. All right. I think Dwayne Wade's going to play a big part in this series. I think he's going to be the X factor for the Heat. And I just think that Miami is just going to... I think Philly's going to be out-coached in this series. All right? And people are probably going to be... Because you know what? I was one of the first people, all right? I think it's on this podcast with the GSMC Sports, but I did say that I would not be surprised if Philly would make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right? So I'm not a hater or anything like that. I just think that Miami's going to be able to pull it out here. I really like the way they play. I really like the way they're coached. Philly is the better team, but I just think Miami's going to be able to pull it out here. All right, Miami's got the experience you need. You got a guy who's won championships as a head coach. You got a player who's won championships. All right, and I just think they're going to be able to pull it out here. I'm going on a limb here too, so I'm gonna go Heat in 6. Yeah, I'm gonna go Heat in 6 games here. So we'll see about it, but that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the 4-5 matchup, so stay tuned, and we will be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. So far today, we're basically just talking about each series going forward and making my predictions. I got the Rockets knocking off the Timberwolves in 7 games. Same with the the Raptors over the Wizards in 7. Celtics over the Bucks in 6. Warriors over the Spurs in 6. But I kind of want to go 5 there. I don't know. I'm going to go 6, though. I figure the Spurs are going to win a couple of home games. Then we just did the 3 versus 6 seeds. I got the Pelicans over the Trailblazers in 6 games and the Heat over the Sixers in 6 games. All right. A couple of upsets there. But nonetheless, here we are. Going to be talking Cleveland versus Indiana and Utah, or I should say Oklahoma City versus Utah. All right, to get it in order. But nonetheless, let's start off with the Cleveland and Indiana game. We started with the West, all 3 segments, I think. So let's start with the East here to finish it up. But nonetheless, let's get into it, all right? So obviously, we got the Cavs. And the Cavs haven't really had the best year this season. Started off the year with Isaiah Thomas on the team. Was looking like maybe Isaiah Thomas is going to play well with LeBron. That's what we were waiting. Isaiah Thomas was out for most of January, February, until January. Everyone was saying, oh yeah, when Isaiah gets back, the Cavs are going to turn it on. They're going to play well. And that was just the ultimate disaster there. All right. 2 of the assets, I should say, that the Cavs got back for Kyrie Irving are on different teams. Jay Crowder and Isaiah Thomas. That trade just did not work out. Now they got to hope that maybe Ante Zizic turns into a great player and whoever they pick with that Brooklyn pick, which is probably going to be an 8th or 9th pick in the draft, turns out to be a stud. If not, they probably lost. But either way, that's neither here nor there because we got the new Cavs. All right, we got Larry Nance, Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood. All right. And it's wild how the Cavs pretty much just traded most of their team for another half, and here they are. Cavs didn't really get better or worse. I mean, they still don't play defense, but nonetheless, here they are. All right. Playing a very surprising Indiana team. No one thought this Indiana team would be as good as they are. They traded Paul George away. Everyone figured, you know what? Yep, they're going to be rebuilding. Victor Oladipo didn't really play too well with the Thunder. And no one really knew who that Domantas Sabonis guy was. All right, so everyone figured, you know what? They're not going to be that good. It's cool. They rebuild. Wrong. They finished as the 5 seed this year. Victor Oladipo is going to be the most improved player. Domantas Sabonis has been a great addition and has been a very productive player off the bench. Okay. Darren Collison has played well. Corey Joseph has played well. Bojan Bogdanovic has played well. Thaddeus Young has been a nice little veteran for that team. Lance Stevenson is doing Lance Stevenson things still, and that's a good thing. Miles Turner is the only one who's been kind of inconsistent, I feel, for this team. All right. But nonetheless, they played extremely well this season, and they earned their spot. So here we are. Remember when we used to have Miami versus Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals? Oh, what a time that was, back when Paul George was there. Now we got Indiana versus Cleveland in the first round. Lance Stevenson versus LeBron, part 2. You think he's going to blow in LeBron's ear this time again? Who knows? But nonetheless, I mean, LeBron's never lost in the first round. All right? Never lost. And I think it'd be crazy for me to pick against Cleveland in this series. All right? Honestly, I think Cleveland's actually has looked better the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, to chop it up, I don't got Indiana winning the series. And I don't think it's going to be that I don't know. This series kind of scares me here. All right. I want to go be bold, and I want to pick Cleveland to win in 5. That's the pick I want to make. All right. But I do not want to shortchange this Indiana team. Okay? Shortchange meaning I don't want to have them losing so soon. It's just with LeBron, he's a whole different player in the playoffs. All right? He plays like he's the best player of all time in the playoffs. Dude just dominates. There's no answer to stopping him. You just hope to limit him, and you hope the guys around him just stink it up. All right? But nonetheless, it's like, I don't know. I just feel like LeBron's going to be that much of a problem for the Pacers. And this Pacers team, I mean, they made the playoffs last year, right? Yeah, against Cleveland. Didn't they play Cleveland last year? I'm almost positive they played Cleveland last year, and then they get swept, I think it was. So, I mean, it's just a matter of, it's all about how well I think this Cleveland team is going to play. I think they're going to be very good, but like I said, I just do not want to say in 5, Cleveland in 5, because of the fact that I feel like that's shortchanging Indiana a bit. But I think I'm going to have to. I got to go Cleveland in 5. I don't know. All right. If anything, this is the worst Cleveland team LeBron's been on in a while. And maybe that's where Indiana is able to get a couple of games here, but it's just a matter of, 6 games is that most is what I'll go. The series is not going 7, I don't think, unless Indiana just turns it on here. All right. And you know me, I've been the biggest Cleveland doubter all year. I've not really bought into them, but it's just playoffs are here, and you know what? I'm buying into Cleveland. All right. I'm going to go, I don't know, I've been picking teams in 6 all show long. I'm going to go Cleveland in 5. All right. And I don't feel good doing it. I'm sorry, Indiana. But it's just, I don't know. I don't trust them against LeBron. All right. LeBron has been the boogeyman for that team for years. All right. So I got to go Cleveland in 5 here. I got to switch it up too. So yeah, Cleveland in 5 there. Indiana will get game 3. But after that, it's over. All right. So we'll see though. I mean, see how well Victor Oladipo plays and see how well Miles Turner plays. If Miles Turner plays well and is getting every board you can think of, maybe there's a difference, but it's just, I don't know. I got Cleveland winning this one in 5. All right. And then we got Utah versus Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City's the 4. Utah's the 5. And, I mean, same with Indiana. No one expected Utah to be this good. All right. Losing Gordon Hayward and George Hill, probably your top 2 scorers, your top 2 players. No, Rudy Gobert better than George Hill. Nonetheless, you lost 2 players like that. Those are big parts of your starting 5. All right. And for you to finish as the 5 seed is incredible. Donovan Mitchell has been a beast this season. All right. Averaging 20 points per game. I think nearly 21. Joe Ingles has been a monster this season. No one talks about Joe Ingles for some reason. Probably the most underrated player in the league. Literally. No one talks about Joe Ingles. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, here we are. We got what? Joe Ingles, Rudy Gobert is the best rim protector in the league. Donovan Mitchell quite possibly could win Rookie of the Year. Who else has played well? Jay Crowder off the bench. Jonas Jerebko's played well off the bench. Royce O'Neal, someone no one really knew much about, has played well this season. Dante Exum's been a nice little player for the Jazz. Derek Favors has played well. Jazz got a great all-around basketball team here. All right, and as far as the Thunder go, they've been kind of inconsistent off and on. Sometimes they look like the team everyone expected them to be as far as competing with the Warriors or Rockets. Sometimes they look like they shouldn't even made the playoffs. All right, and let me tell you right here, I got the Jazz winning this series in 5. Jazz by far have the better team. By far. Thunder got 3 players. Jazz got a whole team. Jazz got the best defense in the league. All right. I got the Jazz winning in 5. I don't think it's going to be close, really. I think that Carmelo's going to struggle. Paul George is going to struggle. Russell Westbrook's going to be inefficient. I think that's how this series is going to go. Okay? I mean, there's not really much to say about it. I'm very confident in my Jazz in 5 pick. All right? More confident than any other pick, probably. But nonetheless, I mean, it's going to be interesting. This Oklahoma City team, like I said, was built to compete with the Thunder or compete with the Rockets and Warriors, but it just simply hasn't been the case this season. All right, are they going to be able to pull out the series here? I mean, if you think the Thunder are going to win the series, then you probably expect Carmelo Anthony to play a whole lot better than what he has. And you expect Paul George's jumper to be a little bit more on, right? I mean, how can you pick against the Jazz here? It's either you don't know enough about the Jazz or you're just going out on a limb picking the Thunder, I feel. All right. But nonetheless, we'll see about it. So like I said, I got the Rockets in 7, Raptors in 7, Celtics and Warriors in 6, Heat and Pelicans in 6, and then both the Cavs and Jazz in 5. Playoffs coming up. Games going on tomorrow. All right, as far as my picks for each individual game, we'll be doing that too. I got the Rockets knocking off the Timberwolves in Game 1. Same with the Warriors. And then I got the Trailblazers beating the Pelicans. And I got the Jazz beating the Thunder. As far as the East, I got the Wizards winning Game 1. Celtics winning Game 1. Heat winning Game 1. And Cleveland winning Game 1. So we'll see how right I am. Hopefully I am. And we'll recap the games too. Let's see. We're going to be back on Monday. Yeah. But either way, some little out around the league news. Knicks fired Jeff Hornacek. Wonder who they're going to go after. And the Hornets fired their coach too. All right. With the Knicks, David Fizdale, I feel like, is probably the best coach out there. Oh, yeah, the Hornets fired Steve Clifford, and that's what his name is. Steve Clifford. I drew a blank there, but nonetheless. All right. I think the Knicks, if you're truly, really about rebuilding your team right here, not just trying to be a Knicks team where it's just constant, no direction, go after David Fizdale. He's the best coach out there, I feel. All right. I feel like he kind of got a raw deal with Memphis. Memphis was going in a different direction, was trying to completely tank, so it just didn't really work out there. But it'll be interesting to see. I really think the Knicks should go after a guy like Trae Young in the draft. If they do, I think they're going to be a pretty decent team in the next few years because you know Porzingis coming back. And as far as the Hornets, they need to go full-on tanking here, tank mode. You got rid of your coach, trade Kemba, trade Dwight, just blow it up. All right? So we'll see what ends up happening, but looking forward to the playoffs. So we'll see how it all goes down. But nonetheless, we got Golden State, San Antonio, Washington, Toronto, Miami, Philly, and New Orleans, Portland on Saturday, and then the rest of the other teams playing on Sunday. So we'll see how it all goes down. But thanks for listening to the GSMC Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back on Monday to recap everything, so stay tuned, and we will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Basketball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.